The theme affirms the value of all life, human, animal, plant and microorganisms, and their interconnectedness on the planet Earth and in the wider universe. For India, the G20 presidency also marks the beginning of Amrit Kal, the 25-year period beginning from the 75th anniversary of its independence on 15th August 2022, leading up to the centenary of its independence towards a futuristic, prosperous, inclusive, and developed society, distinguished by a human-centric approach at its core. I would like all our participants to actively engage in the lecture series, as it will give them a leg up in the competitions that are to be held later in the day. Now, may I please invite Professor Surekha Dangwal ma'am, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Doon University, to present the welcome address, please.
Very good morning to all of you, and congratulations for the G20 presidency with our country. Professor Rajesh Gokhale ji, Secretary, Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India. Shri Shailesh Bagoli ji, he is Secretary, IT and Secretary, Higher Education, and many more other departments in Government of Uttarakhand. Professor Durgesh Pant, Director General, Uttarakhand Council of Science and Technology, Government of Uttarakhand. Our distinguished faculty members, administrative staff, and the students of Doon University. I would like to share with our honorable guest that since I'm not the science student, I see the things very differently. On June 2nd, 2022, Honorable Chief Minister of Uttarakhand, Shri Pushkar Singh Dhami ji, inaugurated this center and this auditorium. Since then, I believe that something divine is happening with Doon University. We have been getting the blessings of not only great people, but their greatness is full of some kind of divinity, and I will name few of them. Honorable President of India, she was here with us on 9th December 2022. We have Professor Kasturi Ranganji. After that, we have in our orientation program, Super 30 Anandji, we have Serve Secretary Dr. Sanjeev ji, and I extend a very warm welcome to add in this galaxy of great and divine people, Dr. Rajesh Gokhale ji today. He was very busy, and today he was having his meeting with Ministry of Ayush, but despite having his busy schedule, he ensured his presence for delivering the keynote lecture entitled Glimpses of Transformation in India Through Science and Technology. It is a great day for all of us, and he is the Secretary in Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India. Presently, he is on deputation from Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, Pune. Prior to this, he was at National Institute of Immunology and were also Director, CSIR Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology for 7.5 years. He's trained as a chemical biologist from Indian Institute of Science, IISc, Bangalore, and Stanford University, USA. I express a deep sense of gratitude for your presence, sir. I also extend a warm welcome to Mr. Shailesh Bagoli ji, who is a Secretary in Science and Technology, Government of Uttarakhand. In addition to this, he is the Principal Secretary in Department of Higher Education, Government of Uttarakhand. I'm grateful to you because you are having a busy schedule and also have a meeting of cabinet in the post-lunch today. Despite this fact, he managed his visit to Doon University in a very short notice. I extend a very warm welcome to Professor Durgesh Pant. He is a person to whom I consider a person to whom we can fall back upon. And I just informed him few hours back, and he's here, and he always make it sure with his presence to Doon University that he is with us. So I'm really thankful to you, and I extend a very warm welcome to Professor Durgesh Pant. At the outset, I have no hesitation to mention that Doon University is among the 75 universities in higher education institution of India that have been identified and selected by Ministry of External Affairs to conduct the programs for engaging with young minds. And this program, it already started with the quiz competition, inter-school quiz competition. We are having inter-university quiz competition after lunch today. And we have essay competition. On 21st, we will be having all India debate on climate change, that ethical relationship with nature is only the solution of climate change. And many other programs are in the series we are going to conduct to celebrate the presidency of G20. We are having a very grand event tomorrow as well. We will be inviting Ms. Preeti Sharan, former Foreign Secretary of India and ambassador in different countries. She will be with us. Dr. Alka Mittal will be with us, and I think many more speakers will be here to connect with young minds. It is for you, my dear students. It is not one-way traffic, and today also, when the lecture will be here, because mainly we are here to listen to Dr. Gokhale. So the interactive session will be there. Your curiosity about G20, your curiosity about the place of India in G20, the place of India in G20 in terms of science and technology and other many things. I don't want to speak much, but I can see that Doon University is doing great things with our wonderful faculty and wonderful students. It is located in the lush green foothills of Shivalik. Our university, though established in 2005, but academically started in 2009. And after that, we are having 8 schools, and 9th one is this Himalayan Center for Himalayan Study and Research Center, after the name of the great social reformer, Dr. Nityanand. We have a School of Environment and Natural Resources. We have a School of Physical Science, a School of Social Science, a School of Management, a School of Design, a School of Foreign Languages with 5 foreign languages, including and English language. We have School of Media and Communication Studies. Now, what is important about G20 and why we are so much excited to celebrate these events? I feel that in G20, our Honorable Prime Minister has given one slogan as a solution to the world, to the rest of the world after this COVID-19 pandemic. And that slogan was Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one family, one earth, and one future. And I remember, because I don't want to speak much, I remember that way back in 1922, a very famous Nobel laureate, T.S. Eliot, has given the same solution from the side of India about the trauma, the pain, the complexities, even the climate change that time also, about the war conflict zones after First World War. His famous book, The Wasteland, published in 1922, and there he was talking about the solution will come from India only. And some lines are there that in the last canto of What the Thunder Said, he says, the clouds are gathering around the Himvant. I can see the rain of fertility, and the solution is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Da, da, da. Datta, Daya, Damyate. And this famous book concludes with 3 words, and those 3 words are Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Again, after a century, this same kind of solution people are expecting from our country. With the presidency of G20, all our scientists, all our great people, they are working very hard to present some kind of solution. As I already told, that our debate subject is, the topic is ethical relationship with nature will be the solution of climate change. We can see the impact of climate change, and with this solution, we have invited Dr. Rajesh Gokhale, and once again, a very warm welcome to you, sir, that you accepted our invitation, and you are here to give some kind of solution to the world through science and technology, what India is doing. A very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your welcome address and introductory remarks. Before we commence, I would like to give a gentle reminder to the participants of the quiz and essay writing competition to attentively listen to the upcoming lectures, jot down important points, and engage with our dignitaries for deeper insight. I now extend my warm welcome to Mr. Shailesh Bogali, who is currently serving in the Department of Higher Education, Government of Uttarakhand, and is Secretary, Science and Technology, Government of Uttarakhand. We are privileged to have you amongst us, sir, and I request you to take the stage to present your remarks.
Thank you so much. Dr. Rajesh Gokhale, Secretary of Biotechnology, Government of India, Professor Surekha Dangwal, VC Doon University, Professor Durgesh Pant, DG UCOST, Professor R.P. Mamgai, Dean School of Social Sciences, Doon University, Dehradun, all the faculty members of Doon University present here, dear students. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Surekha Dangwalji for inviting me. I would also like to welcome Secretary Sir Dr. Gokhale on behalf of the state government today here in Uttarakhand. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Sir, I would like to mention that Uttarakhand is a new state. It has been around 22 years now, but if we see that it has progressed quite a lot in these last 22 years. Our GDP, in fact, our per capita income is among the highest in the country. And we have progressed by leaps and bounds after the state was created in 2020. It is also land of biodiversity. We have different climates present here. We have Himalayas, we have plain regions in the state. In the Himalayas, we have different valleys, different mountains. We have different climates. So all range of biodiversity is available here. The mountains, it's primarily a mountainous region, so it has its own challenges. But at the same time, it has its own opportunities also. I'm not focusing on the challenges, I'm focusing more on the opportunities. And in fact, we all should, as students and as faculty members, we all should focus on the opportunities that are available in the state. I would like to give you a couple of examples why I'm talking about opportunities, especially in the field of biodiversity. I was talking to a couple of people, a couple of scientists a few days back. I came to know that in Mukteshwar, which is in the Nainital region, some young entrepreneurs are working in the field of bichu ghas, which we call a stinging nettle. So they found out that it is very, very rich and it is very, very helpful for people who are suffering from anemia. So this is a different kind of thing that our youth are focusing on, and they want to develop some enterprise out of whatever the opportunities are available in the state government. Similarly, in the Champawat region and elsewhere also, we have Badri Gai, and its milk is considered to be very, very rich in A2 milk, and which is very, very beneficial for our health. And similarly, since a wide variety of biodiversity is available in the state, and over 70% of the areas of forest lands. So we have to see these forested areas, this biodiversity that is present here as opportunities. What we seriously should focus on, that how we can create entrepreneurship, how we can develop entrepreneurship into our students. That is the most important thing. First of all, we need to make aware our students about what are the different opportunities available within the state for them. There are various traditional fields like tourism is there, people are creating homestays, people are creating hotels, and people are into different kinds of other jobs also which are traditional and which Uttarakhand is known for, like For tourism, Uttarakhand is very well known, and similarly now industries, education sector, Uttarakhand is very well known, and people are coming forward in creating enterprises out of it. But this biodiversity sector is a very interesting sector, and I feel that there are lots of opportunities available here. I was, a couple of days back, I was also talking to VC Pantnagar University. They are also planning, along with our Biodiversity Council, they are planning to come up with a biodiversity park also in Pantnagar, sir. In fact, Pantnagar University has consented to give some part of land for this biodiversity park also. I feel that if we come up with these biodiversity parks and make our students aware, there are lots of opportunities available in the state government. So the most important thing for us would be that making people aware, developing our human resources. And for that purpose, the Department of Higher Education and all the higher education institutes, which includes Doon University, they play a major role. जैसा कि आपको पता है कि now like lots of students are studying in the higher education sector, but the data, when we study the data, very few people, in fact 90% of the people who come out of the higher education sector do not have the employability skills. So that is a big challenge in front of the state government and in front of the government of India also. And because of that purpose, government of India came up with a national education policy, and which is very, very interesting. It talks about skills, it talks about promoting research. तो उस दिशा में हम लोगों को आगे बढ़ने की जरूरत है. डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ हायर एजुकेशन में जब हम बात करते हैं लोगों से, तो हम देखते हैं कि हम लोग सिर्फ ट्रेडिशनल कोर्सेज की तरफ ही हम लोग जा रहे हैं. दून यूनिवर्सिटी बीइंग एन एक्सेप्शन, दून यूनिवर्सिटी में काफी ऐसे कोर्सेज चलते हैं जो कि एक एंटरप्रेन्योर्स डेवलप करने की दिशा में जाते हैं, एक स्किल डेवलप करने की दिशा में जाते हैं, और वहां से जो बच्चे पास आउट होते हैं वो काफी उनको एम्प्लॉयमेंट उनको मिल जाता है. लेकिन जो बाकी हमारे ट्रेडिशनल कॉलेजेस हैं, जो बाकी हमारी ट्रेडिशनल यूनिवर्सिटीज हैं, वो अब वहां पे हम लोगों को चेंज लाने की जरूरत है, और पूरा एक माइंडसेट हम लोगों को चेंज करने की जरूरत है कि हम ट्रेडिशनल कोर्सेज को छोड़ करके हम लोग आगे बढ़ें और ऐसे कोर्सेज की तरफ जाएं हम लोग जहां से हमें बच्चों को जॉब लग सकती है, या जो बच्चे अपना कुछ एंटरप्राइज अपना कुछ शुरू कर सकते हैं. ट्रेडिशनल कोर्सेज में भी हम लोगों को कुछ ऐसे इनपुट देने की जरूरत है जहां पे उन कोर्सेज में, सपोज अगर हम कॉमर्स पढ़ रहे हैं तो कॉमर्स में ही कुछ ऐसे सब्जेक्ट्स को, कुछ ऐसे स्किल्स को इंट्रोड्यूस करने की जरूरत है. सपोज हम टैली की बात करते हैं या इस तरह के और विषयों की बात करते हैं, ताकि बच्चों को रोजगार मिल सके या अपना रोजगार वो लोग शुरू कर सकें. तो ये हम लोगों को कोशिश करने की जरूरत है. इनफैक्ट आई एम वेरी हैप्पी दैट few days back, in fact, we had conducted a meeting with all the VCs, and Madam was also present here. I am very happy to see that some changes are happening in our mindset. The leadership is also thinking about developing those courses, like IT-based courses, biotech-based courses. These kind of courses are being developed by the universities, and which will ultimately lead to increasing the skills of our people and students, and they'll be able to get some employment. तो ये हम लोगों के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि NEP को हम लोग किस तरह से इंप्लीमेंट करते हैं. हम NEP talks about some major courses, some minor courses, and NEP also talks about multidisciplinarity. So this is very, very important कि हम लोग कैसे मेजर कोर्सेज आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं और उनके साथ कॉम्बिनेशन में कौन से माइनर कोर्सेज आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं, ताकि जो हमारे स्टूडेंट्स हैं वो एक अच्छे नागरिक बनने के अलावा अच्छे एंटरप्रेन्योर्स भी बन सकें और जॉब करने वाले नहीं, जॉब देने वाले वो लोग बने. तो इस दिशा में हम लोग स्टेट गवर्नमेंट काफी काम कर रही है, एंड वी आर वेरी, वेरी कीन दैट वी शुड मूव आउट ऑफ दिस माइंडसेट कि भाई हम लोग हायर एजुकेशन पढ़ा रहे हैं तो पढ़ा रहे हैं, जैसे चल रहा है वैसे चलना है. उसको हम लोग को चेंज करने की बहुत जरूरत है. तो इस दिशा में हम लोग को जरूरत है. आज मुझे लगा कि यहाँ पे हमारे सभी कॉलेज के फैकल्टी हैं, स्टूडेंट मेंबर्स भी हैं, तो ये NEP के बारे में भी थोड़ी मैं बात करूँ इसके बारे में. तो यही मुझे कहना था आज के इस विषय में, और मैं आप सब लोगों का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा, और थैंक यू सो मच.
Thank you for enlightening us with your mind-riveting and enriching thoughts and ideas, sir. As we all know, keynote lectures set out the central theme of a conference and drive the core purpose of the event. Moving ahead in this very line, for our keynote lecture today, we have Dr. Rajesh S. Gokhale, sir, with us. Dr. Rajesh S. Gokhale is the director of CSIR, Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology. He has led interdisciplinary initiatives that have spawned new avenues in the area of functional genomics research and healthcare. He is also the co-founder of Vyom Biosciences, a biopharmaceutical company developing best-in-class drugs for dermatology care utilizing genomics knowledge. He has previously worked as staff scientist at National Institute of Immunology as well. Dr. Gokhale is the recipient of several honors and awards, including the Infosys Prize 2013 in Life Sciences India, Swan Jayanti Fellowships India, and Wellcome Trust Senior Research Fellow UK, to mention a few. He is a member of the several scientific advisory committees and is also a section editor of Tuberculosis Journal and on the advisory board of Natural Product Reports. Dr. Gokhale is furthermore an honorary faculty member with Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research, Bangalore. Sir, I request you to kindly open the keynote.
Professor Surekha Dangwal, Vice Chancellor, Doon University. I should first say, I was just came and sat here and then saw this wonderful auditorium. And a thought came to my mind what Sir Winston Churchill actually long time back said. He said, we shape our buildings and thereafter they shape us. And she rightly said that ever since its inauguration, I think this wonderful auditorium is actually seeing wonderful people coming to you, talking to you, and getting information from you that can be circulated around actually. So thank you very much for building such wonderful auditoriums. Shri Shailesh Bagoli ji, the Secretary Science and Technology, actually has talked about some wonderful things about startup, which I think is one of the only way that our country can do innovate, and hopefully I will talk about it. Professor Durgesh Pant, whom I had chance to meet earlier as well in Dehradun, actually very enthusiastic UCOST Director General. Professor Mamgain, teachers, faculty members, administrative staff, students, and my dear friends. I think it's a great pleasure to be over here actually, and let me try and put together a thought process of what our country transition is going to go through actually. And as you can see, we've talked about science and technology, but primarily my focus will be on biotechnology actually, because that's the department that I head on actually. And I think it's going to be important for us to understand that how biology will build the next technology revolution actually in the world, and it's likely to do the same in our country. And if we take up these formative technologies at present state, I think we'll get into a kind of a completely new status. Click this? Okay. Is there a mic, column mic? No. Okay. Thanks. So let me first of all start with what is the problem in our country actually. It's always important to understand and identify what's the focus of our nation is actually. Where are we? What do we want to do? How do we head into the future actually? And a very important concept to understand is what is called middle income trap actually. And this is basically, if you look at X and Y axis, it's basically points out 1960s to 2022, how the GDP of nations have altered with time. And this is plotted for all the countries. And what this is actually you can look at is there is a range called low income to high income, becoming rich, staying rich, or middle income or high income countries.
So by this you can point.
I can point? Okay.
Yes, sir. The pointer will
Okay.
start with.
All right. Thanks.
So you did the follow. Very good.
Does this work? Okay. I think I'm more comfortable moving on my place actually to be able to then. So this is the real challenge that we have to understand. World Bank official classification of countries become high income country only when the GDP per person is around $13,000 actually a year. Now you can see many promising economies have become ensnared in the middle income mediocrity actually. And this is not only true for country, this is true for institutions, this is true for universities, this is true for companies, this is even true for individuals actually, that you always get ensnared into middle income problem. And in our country, the problem, whatever you can talk about, is something around poverty actually. If we ask what is the problem, we always trivialize every problem into ye nahi tha, ye nahi mila, yahan nahi tha, wahan nahi tha. It's actually, we need to get over that, because we are not any more poverty country actually. And you know, there was a time when even getting a bottle of milk used to be a big affair everywhere in our country. We are nowhere in that era actually. That era is over. We now have to aspire for bigger things and a bigger world. And I think one gets ensnared into this middle income mediocrity, and that's why we survive here. Of 101 middle income economies in 1960, only 13 have become high income by 2008 actually. And some of the countries have in fact gone back also. For example, Equatorial Guinea and Mauritius, which were considered to be high income country, they have become middle income country actually. So this is the trap that we all have to get out of this actually. And the way we can do this, and the only possible model that is available for us to do, is actually technologically empowered India that can escape this trap. And the reason I put up this is because our Honorable Prime Minister constantly emphasizes that technology is the only mechanism by which we can solve people's problem actually. And this G20 leadership and the presidentship is all about how we can empower ourselves technologically. And I think that the leadership itself tells us that the world is looking at us of how 1/6 of the world population is going to react in the future, such that it will create directions for how world will react. And that's the real leadership issue that we are all talking about. Now this is an interesting slide, again talks about scientific and technological and economic growth actually. And you can see what is going on in the world today is it's called the global tech race actually. Every country is trying to ensure that the technological revolutions in their country actually is at the highest pace to go. What this does, it shows you how across centuries the technological trigger have changed the GDP of the nation actually. And so for example, when industrial revolution came in 17th to 18th century, you can see that the GDPs of the countries that had industrial revolution started to become powerful and become better. Then came the age of steam engine, then came the age of steel and electricity and heavy engineering, then motors and then petrochemical industry. Then in the ICT part is when India started to pick up actually. We started to realize our potential, and therefore India is somewhere here. And eventually now, I believe the future belongs to artificial intelligence and biomanufacturing processes actually. And if we do not embark upon technologies now, what I call formative technologies at this stage, we will again be actually getting these technologies from other countries and dependent on them. And the only way the GDP of the country and therefore prosperity of the country and the vision of our Prime Minister can be achieved is if we embark upon these technological race to be able to do these activities. So how is science and technology really we should look at? And there are two simple answers that I will give and then give little bit more details actually. The first is, and one of the most simplest I think is science with simplicity is the most easiest way to connect actually. And I cannot imagine anything more simple than this QR code which has come out in a recent times, has become so popular if you look at. Just imagine how simple it is. It's a mechanism that allows you to do several things other than transfer money from your pocket to another person's pocket without any problems and with ease actually. What is this so interesting about it? In fact, if you really look at history of QR code, the QR code was identified by a subsidiary in Japan and a Toyota to label their cars and manufacturing companies to be able to look at it. It consists of white and black boxes, and these boxes are such that even if a part of this is red, many of you would have scanned this and realized that even if a part of it is red, the information is very rich and therefore allows it to do. It's a quick and error-free method. It's more informative. It's engaging with rich content. It's an actionable item actually because it allows you actions to do. It's trackable and easy to save actually. And I think something like this is quite amazing to think of, you know. How simple scientific solutions can change the lives of people to an extent that is unimaginable right now. And I think this is a wonderful example of how scientific detailing allows you to do these kind of things. The second thing that I would like to talk to you about is let's break the stereotype. And this I'm going to tell you about in a small poem actually, which is written by me and my lab people actually. And it's just to say, we are a very stereotype country. ये तो ऐसा ही है. Commerce करने से आप ये करोगे, arts करने से ये हो जाओगे, literature पढ़ोगे तो ऐसा रहेगा, science वाले बच्चे ऐसे होते हैं. And this is why I put together this poem. It's called भैंस की व्यथा भैंस की जबान से. And भैंस is a kind of animal that we always, talk to them in a very different way. And this is what it says. It says, बच्चा जब दूध बड़ा होता है तो दूध मेरा पीता है वो भी बोनमीटा डालकर और निबंध लिखने के लिए गाय हाथी या कुत्ते क्यों. You can imagine you have never written on buffalo actually. Nobody ever writes an essay in our childhood. You always write on something else. अगर बच्चा लिख नहीं पाता है तो बोलते हैं काला अक्षर भैंस बराबर, तो क्या दूसरे जानवर पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट है. We keep labeling one animal the way it is actually. Then यदि कोई गलती करे तो कहते हैं, लोग कहते हैं गई भैंस पानी में, बाकी के जानवर का कोको कोला में जाते हैं. एंड देन कोई ना सुने तो कहते हैं भैंस के आगे बीन बजाना, बाकी के आगे क्या लता मंगेशकर का गाना गाते हैं, क्या बिगाड़ा है मैंने. So you can see it's only one animal who has been tracked as a poor animal actually in a way. Look at our society is deeply oriented in that way actually. We have constantly debated and thought that you should marginalize people, you should debate them in a way. And I think this is my way to tell younger students that believe in yourself. Don't look at history to say what the future is. History only tells you what you should do, what you should not do. It never tells you what it will happen actually. And the technological revolution in the country in the future 10 years is going to be completely dimensionless, and you cannot recognize yourself what the country would be. And I think that's where the Department of Biotechnology is really up to what it is really taking decisions on. So the whole idea is to foster biotech innovations and simultaneously promote bioeconomy in the country, which is the only mechanism by which this country is likely to grow actually. So obviously what we do is we fund high quality biotech research. So एक इस तरह की व्यवस्था बनाए जहां हम फंड कर सकते हैं, एक प्रबंध जहां वर्ल्ड क्लास फैसिलिटीज हो, एक पद्धति जहां से हम ट्रेन और अट्रैक्ट द बेस्ट क्वालिटी पीपल, एक ऐसी प्रणाली बनाए जहां भी कॉम्प्लेक्स चैलेंजेस सॉल्व करने के लिए करें. सिंपल सॉल्यूशंस का कोई फायदा नहीं है. Just simple things कि यहां से उठा के वहां कर रख दिया. Learn to solve complex challenges. It's time to take your responsible about this, and then do a संरचना जिसका importance है, जैसे policy और safety guidelines जो important होते हैं, and then सहयोग which actually carries people together. So what is that India have done incredibly well technologically if you really look at actually, and I think it's very important to understand what is at India at 75 is and what India will be at India at 100, what Honorable Prime Minister always mentions and talks about Amrit Kal actually. Now, what we have done is quite outstanding if you look at for what it is about. We are the 5th largest economy by nominal GDP and 3rd largest by the purchasing power parity. Only US and China is ahead of us right now in terms of it. It's the 7th rank flow in a foreign direct investment inflow. It's about $83 billion. Ranked 40 in global innovation in the world, and we have jumped 6 places, and I can tell you in next 10 years we will jump at least 20 actually. 3rd largest startup ecosystem. We have about 107 unicorns now. $340 billion total unicorn and startup ecosystem is, as Shailesh just now mentioned, that's the key to how innovation is occurring. Highest mobile data consumption. Worldwide our data consumption is 21 GB per user per month actually, which is remarkable because data is the power, and if we convert the data into AI based technologies, this is going to be the game changing. And the highest digital payment transactions, which I showed you, 48 billion to about $188 billion is what we transact every day. So you can imagine the scales are absolutely outstanding actually. And there is no other country other than China can even match any of these scales that we want to do. But what is the world looking at now? How is the world scenario is actually? Because we need to look at our facts in the context of world model. And you can see what your VC also mentioned, the climate change net zero is obviously on everybody's agenda. We all know this is going to be the game changer because it's going to impact every aspect of your life because the climate associated activities get connected with it. There is a disruptive geopolitics, whether it's political and economical uncertainty People are realigning themselves constantly. They are constantly playing different kind of games. The demographic transitions, there is a migration from youth to aging and aging to a population that is surviving longer. The pervasive AI and data economy, actually, everywhere you will see artificial intelligence is going to be able to, sometimes create solutions, sometimes create fake problems for you, actually. I mean, you can start hearing your own voices in your cell phones in very soon. You will be actually completely taken care of it. The oligopolies of big techs. Big techs have become kind of bigger than what they can be controlled of. Almost every entire nation and worlds are being controlled by them. Rising citizen and consumer expectations. Everybody wants solutions immediately. There are no way of solutions that tomorrow they will come. Actually, you need to find it today. And then platformization of infrastructure and services, which is what provides us an opportunity to look at it, actually. So what does our nation need to do, actually? And if you really look at national priorities, if we have to find technological solutions, it is for these large 4 areas. If we secure our country in these 4 areas, we probably would have achieved what we want to target from our life. These 4 are agri-food. Everybody would agree that agriculture and food is the primary mandate for it. The second one is the energy, how energy can be harnessed and managed and sustained for longer period of time. The third is healthcare, and you would have seen how COVID can create disruptions to an extent that the life can go completely haywire, and the climate change is the other problem, as I already mentioned. The center of this is data and digital world, actually. And all the activities are going to revolve around this, because the data and digital world is going to convert these data into a useful and absolutely essential materials. And then the 3 technologies that are going to be artificial intelligence, communications and networks, and the MechTech, which is like drones, artificial, refineries or whatever mechanization of whatever you call about. If we secure all these platforms, we can almost see India that we all aspire for, actually. And I think this is exactly what we need to do to build these technologies and to be able to carry out. And you can see that biology, in fact, is there in every area of research and these future activities. And therefore, this is what the future is going to be. Now, how do we do this, actually? And the mechanism cycle is also very, very critical and important, because one is a vision, the second is the implementation plan, and the third is an execution part, actually. And all of these has to be aligned to be able to make successful ventures. And I can tell you that the government at the center is extremely dedicated in putting their best foot together and wanting states to actually reassemble and bring together their energy such that this becomes a mission for our nation. So how do we do this? So you strengthen and align science and technological innovation ecosystem. Then you have industrial policy that provides compelling incentives to harness for frontier technologies. Because all companies would like to make money today. Nobody likes to invest into future, actually, right? So you need to give compelling advantages to them that you take the future technologies along. Otherwise, everybody would like to only sustain themselves. The building workforce transitions and capacity building, instruments and institutions and instrumentation synchronization, which is the regulatory reforms, and then social protection, where promote inclusive debate early on the impact of technology, because it's also a very, very important aspect in our country where we actually often fail and where people from other areas really need to bring their own expertise. Social inclusion is the only way that India can survive. Otherwise, you will have problems of what you are already seeing in UK, where nurses are already on the streets, people are demanding that our job should be protected, various things are thought through. And even best of the countries face these challenges. In India, it can be even more revolutionary. So what have we done in past few years to think of that we can do it, actually? Because you need to have confidence also on our own, actually, to be able to say, can we do this? Are we ready for it? Do we have people along with us? Are we along with it? And therefore, it's always good to look at what we have done. In fact, the bioeconomy in last year moved from $70 billion to $80 billion. And in fact, in 2021, now it is almost $100 billion. With a CAGR of 12 to 14%. That is quite outstanding for any growth in the country, actually. India generated about $200 million for every addition of on everyday basis. 3 biotech startups were incorporated on an everyday basis. We administered about 4 million dosage of COVID vaccine for 1 full year, 4 million dosage every day. And you cannot imagine any country doing this kind of outstanding work. India conducted about 1.3 million tests, again every day 1.3 million tests that allowed us to do, and there is an unprecedented investment of about $320 billion in the India to make this bioeconomy to this level actually. So we have done absolutely fantastically. Every country predicted that India will not come out of COVID. And now you can see that the only country that has an economy still growing and still working is shining star like India. And why? Because we have strong base, we have strong fundamentals, and the governments and have invested in people, and in people are actually delivered when it is required to be able to look at. So for example, you look at seeking innovations in crisis. You know, we never used to make ventilators of our own actually. We in fact produced 11,000 critical care ventilators manufactured within 3 to 6 months time in this country. The common manufacturing facilities were created. The RT-PCR, which nobody knew about what a PCR is, now people talk about what your CT values are actually. It's amazing. This used to be a question for PhD students actually to ask what CT values is, and now people talk about it. So you can imagine that given pressures on us, we can deliver like anybody. Now when you can deliver in the wartime, the challenge is, can we do it in the peacetime as well? And that's far more difficult, because what that means is people need to integrate together, build their synergy, everybody look at the bigger picture than smaller things of mera kya or mujhko kya, and therefore continue to evolve into a ways that actually solves bigger problems and challenges. You can look at the vaccination platforms other than what we developed. The only country that has a DNA vaccine in our country, only country that has an RNA vaccine which is room temperature stable, doesn't require a cold chain, only country, one of the countries that has a nasal vaccine that has shown efficacy. We have a protein subunit vaccine, and all this was done by Department of Biotechnology by funding of COVID Mission Suraksha program. And you can imagine how fantastic it is and amazing it is to feel what we are able to do. How does all this happen actually? It's very good to look at the end products, but what you need to do is actually create various pipelines and what you call supply chain problems. If you want to develop vaccines, you have to develop animal models, you have to develop immunoassays, you have to develop laboratories that can do antiviral screenings, you can have various kind of repositories, vaccine testing facilities, and across all institutions in the country, many of these have been set up. And because of this capacity we have, we can in fact discover ourselves and rediscover ourselves to be able to do activities what we have never done before. This is another wonderful example, what is called INSACOG, and some of you must have read this in newspapers actually, of looking at viruses by looking at genome sequence of these viruses. We have never ever looked at infections in this way in our life, and never across the country. You can see from across the country centers, about 64 genome sequencing labs sequence and provide these sequences on a constant basis to be able to say, how does the COVID virus look like for the last 2 years? Believe me, this is a mammoth exercise, and a lot of money and people's time goes into this. And this is how you can see how COVID has in fact circulated in our country. It started with all these other variants, then the Delta one that you can see in the red, which is actually obviously the one that created a lot of panic in the country, which was then taken over by Omicron, and then by the XBP variants, and now this XBP 1.16, which is what is circulating. But you can see, even though it is circulating and so much prevalent, there's absolutely no clinical outcomes, which is actually the success of our vaccines in this country that shows how much of success technology can make to human life. And I think we should all be proud about the academic community particularly so. But is this the only success that we have looked at actually? In fact, it's really go back and look at, even in 21st century, there have been large number of epidemics that have come for emerging and re-emerging pathogens actually. These can be SARS, dengue, cholera, swine flu, measles, MERS, Ebola, Zika, And you can see this is going to continue. It's not going to go away like this. This is a war between host and the pathogen, and one has to continuously win it actually. And one of the war that government is very focused on looking at is the tuberculosis actually, which government has already taken a very important step. It's been about 150 years that TB is endemic in our country, and we need to find solutions of it. You can see it's called TB as a curable disease, but however, you can imagine the daily deaths what we have in the world. The therapy is 6 to 30 months. There are about 1.2 million children that get sick with it, and we have large number of multi-drug resistant strains, and it happens in every part of the body that it looks at, that one can look at. Even though we think that the treatment is there, the real scenario is not this actually. The real scenario is this, and I wanted to show you the OPD prescription from All India Institute of Medical Sciences to be able to inspire you to say that there are problems that people are facing across the country. And it is this younger people whose ambitions have to be actually aligned with what you need to be able to solve and create the problem. You can see the person takes 4 drugs, isoniazid, rifampicin, pyrazinamide, ethambutol, ofloxacin, and there are still battery of other drugs. And you can imagine if you have to take these drugs for 6 months, it's a bit of a task. So the real life problems are still far bigger. And if you have a drug resistant TB, you in fact take fairly toxic drugs. So therefore, the challenge is how can we overcome this problem? Now many of us kind of gets ensnared into problems that we really think of that these are problems that are existing and we already know the solutions, we have understood everything. Now this is an important aspect to understand. All our lives we have been hearing that poverty and poor nutrition is the cause of TB actually. Now it's fantastic. Obviously that was one of the reasons, because one of the symptom of TB is you become frail and you become very thin and you become very kind of, looks like that you are almost kind of on a very, very poverty stage. In fact, a question to ask, and many of you, I don't know how many of you will be able to say, at what age TB is most prevalent in country actually? Do you know? Is anybody knows? What is the age range? 33% of TB happens in this age. Do you know what is this age actually is? And I'll show you in my next slide. It's really important to understand at what age 33% of people get TB. Is there any disease dynamics in recent years, and are there therapeutic regimens associated that provides long-term problems and challenges in TB? Because we need to not only cure the patient, we need to bring his life back to the normalcy. That's the critical part. In all major diseases, the challenges now is not curing them, but bringing life back to the people such that they give value back to the society. So if you look at this, you'll be surprised that more than 33% of the TB happens between age 15 and 30 in our country actually. And this is the data for about more than 1 lakh people actually. So it's quite amazing if you look at. Is this an age of weaker immunity you can think of, 15 to 30? Or is this the age of inadequate nutrition? It's not true. It's an age where people can snatch and eat and take. It's an age when you are most healthier in all of the symptoms you look at actually. So we in fact go by the old adage and still continue to solve the problem that it's the poverty and the nutrition is the problem. It is not the problem. It's the problem that the disease and the pathogen has in fact changed its characteristic from what it used to exist actually. And we need to do research and development in a way that really looks at the problem. If you look at this graph, again all this data is from TB divisions, health TB division maps that you can analyze. It's all available online these days actually. So data is available free. If you can analyze and look at it, you can do. This is to show that in cities, in all big cities, extrapulmonary TB is actually higher than 40% of the patients actually are extrapulmonary TB. So it's not classical lung TB only. You get into all these kind of diseases and you get it at the younger age. So there's something unique that is happening that is actually really worth understanding and we really need to look at actually. At the same time, we have to look at what is called pharmacovigilance actually, and this is an area that will become very, very growth because genomics and your own genome will tell you which drugs to take, when not to take, how long to take as AI becomes pervasive in genomics activity. And you can see this paper that talks about that antibiotic treatment of tuberculosis induces profound dysbiosis in microbiome that exists. So many of us have heard about microbiome actually, and it's the gut microbiome which actually dictates your life. And in fact, this is the future, or what is modifiers of your diseases are going to be. For example, if you understand the microbiome now, the human microbiome is an integral part of human body and co-determinant of several health conditions. In fact, this is what we largely understand, and a modifier effect, which is what Ayurveda actually primarily gives for treatments. And we need to understand, we've always said and taken these Ayurvedic medicines and home remedies, which actually helps you to reduce, but we have no understanding of how scientifically to explain them. Because we keep looking at saying that, oh, you identify a single constituent, you have to identify something that is unique to it, whereas what it is doing is inherent to the human body. It is modifying its own impact, and therefore now you can see this paper in Science that appeared last year. It says even non-communicable diseases are due to the communicable part of it, which means that it is attributed to the microbiome that is situated in your own body actually. And you can see it's present in every part of your body. So it's interesting that the human life by itself is a combination of various organisms and pathogens that mandates it. So what we are doing at Department of Biotechnology is we have set up what is called data-driven research to eradicate TB actually. And as we've heard, data is the power, it's the solution to provide solutions to look at it. And TB Mukt Bharat, if we need to do by 2025, we need to actually get along doing this. So what we are doing is we are genome sequencing about 35,000 sequences across the country and try and identify from the genome sequence whether you have a drug resistant strain or not, and then train computers to start predicting whether you have an AI, whether you have a drug resistant TB or not drug resistant TB, because that allows you to very quickly change your patterns of drugs regimens, and therefore you can very quickly cure yourself. And these are the kind of challenges that we are trying to resolve and get onto our own areas of research. So what is the bio-revolution that I'm talking about actually? Let me just come to more futuristic programs for next 10-15 minutes to give you a perception. Now what we are talking about, it's an opportunity to change the economic potential using disruptive innovation. And that's the key. The economics drive everything in this world actually, and you need to make sure that the two things are engaged together such that one innovates into each other. So what we are talking about now is talking about vaccines in about 100 days, talking about whether the food supply can be developed in the labs, talking about whether the microbes can produce nutrient-rich food, or your cells can yourself program to cure diseases, or you have viruses that can assemble into batteries and can store energy for you actually. And these are the kind of solutions that are going to be of incredible value as we look into the future of the world actually. And so therefore what Department of Biotechnology doing is embarking upon this program called biomanufacturing actually. Now of course why and what and how, let me just explain you this. Now the really all bigger challenges require national programs actually, and you require to have a mandate such that you actually evolve mechanisms to look at it. And so as we mentioned today, all of us mentioned that global threat require concerted sustainable interventions because of climate change, unsustainable material consumption. We are continue to use materials like anything. Resource utilization and waste generation is of the highest level right now. So how do we solve the problem? So we can solve them by microbes and cells and enzymes to promote and produce commercially important products, either as food, therapeutics, materials, biofabric, bioplastic, chemicals or biofuels. And so therefore the idea is that the factories that typically look like that will get converted into living factories and machines. It will have engineering flexible designs and reclaim resources from waste. And this is the only way that allows you to what you would call utilization of in situ resources. It will allow you to convert the resources on its own and be able to make the systems together. So the program is largely going to focus on six sectors actually that require sustainable interventions. And I would like this university to participate in this very actively, because as you said, bioresource is what this state's real attribute is actually. And in fact, this bioresource can be converted into useful products and materials. Is how to do this and how to convert this is what challenges you should throw to yourself. So for example, the first and foremost, and I'll show you a little bit more, bio-based chemicals and enzymes, functional foods and smart proteins, precision biotherapeutics, climate change resilient agriculture, carbon capture and biomass utilization, and sixth one is futuristic maritime and space research. Because if you want to go in space and live in space for 1 month, you need food. You need mechanisms to recycle your own activities, and the only way you can do this is you have solutions that come from the biological system. So this is the challenge, and many of you would be surprised to see that in fact our chemical industry produces about 60 to 70,000 molecules in our country actually. Chemical industry is 60 to 70,000 molecules, and these molecules are in various sectors, whether agrochemicals, textiles, construction chemicals, dyes and pigments, fragrance and flavors, polymers, and all of these in fact are produced by the precursors that come from petrochemical industry. And this petrochemical industry, you know, is kind of a resource that is going to be very rapidly depleting. The whole idea, therefore, this specialty chemical sector segment to convert into bioengineering based biomanufacturing processes such that microbes starts to produce this actually. The microbial capacity to produce all these metabolic pathways and that we have, can we engineer them? Can we train genomes and AI-based technologies to be able to start predicting which organism will produce which kind of metabolites, how to be able to empower this? And this is going to be really game changer. You can already see Germany and China is already starting to go do it. Actually, in fact, one of the major program in China right now is on biotextile actually. And I think their nylon industry is undergoing huge amount of transformation. So how do we want to do this later on? Eventually this part, when we produce, it has to be connected in a decade's time into the feedstock, and this feedstock will come from carbon dioxide, methane, methanol, acid and carbon monoxide that is produced by the biomass waste actually. And this will take 1 full decade, but if we provide technologies and generate them now, it will tie up into these cell-based factories that will start producing this. So the first idea is to implement this part, and the second one is to bring these kind of activities. The second challenge, as all of you would realize this, is what I call global rice crisis actually. And I think all of you would agree that, you know, it's a statement that is kind of counterintuitive, which says rice fueled the rise of 60% of world population. Now you can imagine, why am I saying this? You know, if there is enough food, there is enough number of people to live on, and therefore you have more and more people on this earth. Now this itself is a source of insecurity and threat because of the stagnating yields. I mean, you know, the land for rice is not going to increase any longer. No farming is, the farming sector is going to shrink. The people working in the land and water labor scarcity is going to increase, and then there is a global methane emission that is actually leading to it. So how do we solve this problem? If we don't just solve this problem today, by 2050, 1/3 of the rice you have to produce more amount if you have to survive. And so even though we are very proud of our green revolution, in our own country we'll face serious challenges of how to produce more food from the land, which is already going away, and the water, which all of you know is going to be one of the biggest challenges of future actually is. So the only way you can resolve this is go to the problem of biomanufacturing. And so this is what the calorie gaps will be. People predict that 56% of the food will have to be produced by a non-agriculture methods actually. And it's all look very, you know, you can't imagine today. But believe me, it is less than 25 years. In 25 years, the food sector would look very different. It cannot come from agro-based industry only. You cannot be dependent on, because the climate change will wash away your fields, the yields will be low, the temperatures will keep circulating, everything is going to change. And that's why, to dear younger friends, please adopt to technologies very early in your lives. The world will be more like mega trends in food agriculture, is what they call alternative smart proteins. It will be produced in labs. It will be produced in factories, and these factories will provide food to you and not the agriculture. The cells by themselves will produce food, and this food will recycle back in your own systems, and therefore it will provide a sustainable and secure food system of the future. And this is what the real challenge is. But what do we do actually? And this is really, in India, this is what is called paradoxical situation. And this is what is called carbon economy about actually. We import about 350 million of tons of carbon in form of fossil fuel, and then release 2.6 gigaton of carbon dioxide in the emissions. So we burn them and release carbon dioxide. We're buying carbon and we're releasing carbon. So we are kind of double whammy actually. And on third, 450 million tons of agri and municipal waste which contains carbonaceous resource, we burn it or discard it or just pile it up. So the carbon atom economy is very poor in our country actually. And this needs to be reorganized into a sector, and this is what our Prime Minister's vision is actually, that create a nation that utilizes its own carbon atom economy such that it produces what we require to be able to do. And all of this has to happen in next 10 years, otherwise we'll be left behind, and again we'll be taking technologies from the other countries to be able to do. See, this is just an example for you to look at. Industrial biopolymers and biomaterials. All of these can produce all these applications that are all produced by chemical industry. Packaging, food, textile, bioplastic, paints, coatings, construction. You can imagine cement industry is the most polluting industry. It produces highest amount of carbon dioxide other than petrol actually burning. And we cannot sustain cement any longer because it's a cement by itself is a problem. So you can imagine the world is going to be so very different in 2 decades that it's going to be unimaginative if we don't catch up. And to be able to do this, what department is doing to do, and we'll be happy to see if there is an interest here, where one can fuse biotechnology into artificial intelligence actually, where you use the data that is generated in biotechnological high-end data that is generated and create hubs all across the country where the data is generated, converted into valuable resource. That's what Google is doing right now, what ChatGPT does. All the data that all of you have provided all the years in internet surfing, they've utilized it, they've converted into economical value, and they're using it for it. Can we do it on our own such that the pathway, assimilation, toxicity mitigation, flux rerouting, all can be carried out in our own mechanisms actually. Finally, I'll come to healthcare actually. I don't want to go into energy more details. Now this is healthcare is a very interesting problem to look at actually, and I think if you imagine yourself, it's very, very important to understand how healthcare will be. I don't know how many of you think what the healthcare problem will be in 20 years hence. जब हम सब बुढ़े हो जाएंगे तो पता नहीं किस तरह से healthcare रहेगा. But you can imagine the healthcare in UK is broken. The healthcare in USA spends 40% of their GDP, it's non-functional. The healthcare and medicine is at the crossroad. You can imagine increasing expenditure, reducing life expectancy even in developed nations. In India it's still going up because we are overcoming. It's a deteriorating health outcomes and the failed business model. The whole business model is different. Nobody in the Western countries wants to get out of hospitals because they get lavishness and they want insurance companies to take care of them. I believe that the whole model will be completely different. The present model of health is reactive health. And when I mean by reactive health, is you seek health services when feeling ill, then you consumer sort through an option, then you say किस डॉक्टर के पास जाना है, किसके पास जाएंगे, then data is captured, so you do pathological test, and then your treatment begins. So इतना पूरा टाइम जाता है आपका 10-15 दिन ऐसे ही निकल जाते हैं, डॉक्टर कुछ देता रहता है, कुछ करते रहते हैं. This will convert it into what I call from your institutions to your homes actually. This will be proactive health. The data captured through medical grade variables, all your watches and other things will be collecting your data. The care options will reach out when ill. Like an Amazon section, the person will come to your home and he'll say, let me check you out immediately. He will do a test for you then and there. And then he'll say, historical data available on the map card. He will look at your history cards actually. And then he will say, the decision to home or hospitalization will be decided today. Because even if you decide, even if 0.1% of 1.4 billion people has to go to hospitals, we know we can't create hospitals to that many numbers. So there is no way we can treat all people in hospitals actually. Because if we think it's a younger population, in 25 years it's not going to be so younger population we have to treat. So they all have to be treated and they will necessarily happen in your homes. So we have to ourselves empower to transit from the hospital to the home treatment centers where everything gets recorded and done. And this is what the future is. And this is where the redefining diagnostic, you can see they're all wearable devices and all sorts of earbuds and ECG patches, chest straps, smart watches, all these are already providing various mechanisms to look at. So in fact, the technology to improve lives, informatics-enabled healthcare delivery, and the data registry that provides the back end of it is the only solution that healthcare will actually look into it. And we've all kind of looked at it actually. Now on the top of it, we want to find solutions for genetic diseases as well. Because if you are born with a disease, am I going to live with that disease all the while? That's what we are doing. It's a neuromuscular diseases, it's rare genetic disorders that are there. We have to correct them. We have to make lives of people who are born, unfortunately, with mutations that are carrying forward from their generations to be able to do this. And to do this, again, department has already invested large amount of institutions and money. And in fact, what we now do is within very short period of time, if you find that there is a rare disease, we genome sequence the whole of your human genome sequence, and we try and identify your mutations that are very important to identify, whether it's a mitochondrial disease, whether it is a disease of eye, whether it's a disease of this. So how do we scale it up? Can we convert it into a mechanism such that it happens at all villages, all places, such that we reduce insanguineous marriages, we decrease the genetic heterogeneity that is not going into the system, and therefore create a country that is actually far more better and important. To be able to do this, our Honorable Minister, in fact, Dr. Jitendra Singh ji, who is himself a clinician and very wonderful person, always very supportive, has also inaugurated what we call Indian Biological Data Center actually. So our idea is that every data generated in the country should be deposited in this center, so that it's accessible to all the world, all the companies. You develop your own programs, convert it into valuable resource, and therefore the government is therefore creating value and not for stopping people from making values actually. And in fact, this is what we are doing right now actually. And the only way, believe me, ladies and gentlemen, the only way you will change this is when younger people start to take up, the startup ecosystem becomes a more and more reality. I mean, next time I am here in this, I would like to know how many people want to think of setting up their own startups and looking at systems to be able to carry out these activities. And this is the only model which will be disruptive, innovative, and which will challenge all the theses that are actually stagnating in our world. What department has done is, many of you should look at this, if some of you are not aware of it, called BIRAC, which is a PSU, which is a public sector company that has for last decade funded young startups, given grants to young startups as an activity to be able to look at. What this does, right from the ideation to the market level, it provides mentorship, it provides seed fund, leap fund, ACE funds, and all POC studies, idea studies. It also provides money to set up bioincubators across the country. We've now set up about 75 bioincubators across the country. And because of that, there are 800 products in the market, 4,000 startup beneficiaries, 350 academia supported, 6,300 crore total investment has been done and has come into the people, into these companies. And many of this is actually startup valuation has gone up. So you can see this is the way to scale it up. The individuals have to take up responsibility, and institutions should provide mechanisms. And that's the only way we can look at our future part of it. Finally, one very important point, and I will end my talk with this actually. I think this is a very nice article that appeared in Nature very recently actually in 18 January 2023. It says PhD training is no longer fit for its purpose, and I think many education systems are. It needs reforms now, and you know, as talked about national education policy, that's also a part of this process. You can see India in 2016 used to produce 25,000 PhDs, now produce about 40,000 PhDs actually in the country. Do we have jobs for them, if you ask a question? And we have to be realistic actually, right? Because if you create PhD students, you have to create jobs for them actually. How do we create jobs for them? Now what is happening is that while doing PhD training, our training is very inadequately prepared for cross-disciplinary work or large team characterizing cutting-edge science. It's not fit for today's science. Today's science is all cross-disciplinary, working across systems, understanding right from an early age, how can I use two different models to be able to look at it. And therefore, this is a very classical Germany 19th century PhD thesis that we still do. That single individual will do a thesis, he will write his own thesis, and I'm propagating that the thesis itself should be joint authors. If we change it, it may change our capability to collaborate and to be able to carry out actually. And that's where I put this slide, which is actually, if you understand this, you will actually get the theme of it. You know, what we do is there are 4 facets of learning, in my opinion, actually. The first is called specialized knowledge, which is the Shastra, which is what you learn and come in PhD. You come and learn in that Shastra part. Then you learn doctrines and principles from your mentors, which is the Tantra of doing using Shastra. And then you have this Vidya, you acquire deep knowledge and reasoning as you continue to work in this area. But what we never do is to convert into Vidya into Kala actually, which is skill and effective performance. And we have absolutely no way of doing it. We leave everybody to their own roots and lives to survive doing that. And in fact, a part of understanding and as a part of academic community, it's our responsibility to put Kala into their head right from the very young age actually, so that they inspire and appear to become something that you're really wanting to become for actually. So I think I will end my talk with one last point, and this is, many of you are wonderful academicians to teach a lot of things, but one of the most important things that we end up forgetting is how to connect science with society actually. And the science and society has to be connected in a very, very close manner. And this is a classical example that is shown here called DNA station. You know, what we had done, when I was very young as a director of an institute, I was asked to say कि in Delhi there is India International Trade Fair, कि India International Trade Fair में कुछ ऐसा करो जिससे people would get excited about it. Now, you know, being very young, you know, this is not very easy to think of. You know, we decided to set up a DNA station. And what we told is that we asked them to spit in a tube and that we will isolate your genomic DNA and give it back to you. And I didn't know what will happen with it, but DNA, you know, we thought we'll start doing it. And suddenly it became a page 3 item actually. In Delhi, everybody, you know, I can see some Eppendorf's DNA, genomic DNA isolated. They used to hang in their necklaces and walk around that my DNA is with me actually. And it was rather interesting. And so these are the excerpts, and this is my last slide to end actually. Today is my greatest day of my life. I can't believe I'm holding my own DNA in my own hands actually. But just imagine this, DNA is always in your hands, but only when it is out of your hands in your tubes that you feel it is in your hand. So this is how society perceives science. And my request to all of you is that that's the kind of communication that you need to convert to do, is to be able to realize that DNA is in your hands. Now it is outside your hand actually. Whereas the people will say something else. The people say, I knew nothing about DNA until today. It's great to know that it's this tube hold all the information about my past, present and future. And then, you know, there was a long queue, so we had this. So it's so frustrating to know that I did not clear the lucky draw for DNA. I came to the fair only for this. And in fact, there were so many media people started to come that I told my scientists that don't talk to media. Kuch ulta seedha aa jata hai media mein, then becomes a challenge actually. But in a young girl, they kept on asking. She said, but batao to sahi DNA kya hota hai? And that person who many of you who know DNA will say, he said, oh, DNA mein 80 GC hota hai. He said, oh, DNA bhi English mein hota hai. And this is the fun part, is that, you know, adenine, thymine, cytosine and what we call bases, actually people, we cannot even communicate to people very well. And it's our responsibility to communicate how science and technology is going to change our future of life. And I think if we do this, the society will support us, will actually come out in different forms to be able to carry out activities. And my request to all of you is that this fantastic institution can be the leader of how this shapes our countries in future. Thank you very much. And again, thank you very much for inviting me here actually.
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर एंड इस पूरी जटिल प्रक्रिया को आपने जितनी सरलता से प्रदर्शित किया, दैट्स रिमार्केबल सर. एंड आई वुड से इफ इंडिया इज अ ट्री, देन you brought together branches of energy, economy, biology, artificial intelligence, of course with the stem of your leadership of Honorable Prime Minister of India, sir. And now I would request students if they have any question, because sir would like to take some questions. Please, this is the moment. I mean, sir is translating his years of experience in research into society, into industry, so you can ask. Yes, please, Mike.
Good morning, sir. This is Rapti Saha. I am from School of Biological Sciences. I'm an international student studying here. I'm from Bangladesh. Sir, in your slides, you mentioned about the importance of science and technology. As we know, currently India has become a global marketplace for at international level for many countries. I'd like to ask you, how can science and technology how can science and technology contribute in the global marketplace which India has currently developed into?
Well, I think you're very right. I mean, right now, as I said, everybody is looking at how India is going to innovate actually. And we all know that India is a tremendously innovative country. We all keep finding jugaad solutions actually. That's been our strength and critical ways in which we have survived, and we have kind of with all this massive. I think we need to convert them into complex now problems as well actually. And I think what you will see in future to come is governments are in fact leveraging all aspects of our activities to be able to work together. For example, vaccine Maitri, if you would have seen, I mean, genome sequencing capacity did not existed in neighboring countries, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal actually. In fact, what Department of Biotechnology trained everybody online, 17 countries, there was a pact signed up, and we therefore provided knowledge and ability to be able to carry out these activities. So in fact, science and technology is always an international experience, and I think this is the only way we can work together through international commitments. And I don't know, how else can one connect with each other unless communications becomes faster and simpler. In fact, one of the major programs that India is going to launch upon is actually how Africa students are going to come more and more in India to be able to learn and go back and create their own sustainable solutions actually. So that's exactly what the problem is, what the challenges that India is going to solve. Both at training people, providing technologies, and also helping them out of how future can be built. So at the policy level as well actually.
Thank you, sir. Can I ask one more question?
Sure, go ahead.
Sir, in your presentation or in your speech, sir, you respectfully said that the Honorable Prime Minister is currently thinking about shifting the carbon-based economy to an economy where carbon dioxide is remanufactured. Would you kindly highlight on that sector, sir?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I think you must have, I don't know whether you had a chance to look at the budget this time. The budget had Saptarishi actually, that Honorable Finance Minister actually talked about, Nirmala Sitharaman, and one of the major aspects of this was green growth. And the whole budget agenda was how green growth will catalyze future of India actually. And what that means is that the waste is not waste, is really valuable. So you capture waste, you capture carbon from various waste sources it's produced, convert them into organic carbon. The inorganic carbons get converted into organic carbon, and then organic carbon into products that are of value commodities actually. That's where the biomanufacturing programs is all about actually.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I have a question. Sir, I'm Arun Kumar, sir. Sir, I am following scientists who have done translational research. And you are one of those few scientists who have discovered something which has been translated into commercial value. So you have also established one of your company. So I want to know what kind of challenges were faced by you during this process.
Well, I always forget challenges actually. I always think of what I can do more in future actually. That's the way I am. It's a country full of challenges, right? I mean, we all are lived our lives. I mean, I still remember my Delhi days. Delhi milk scheme की वो दूध की एक bottle लेने के लिए we used to struggle to get that from one milk spoon beat. वो दिन खत्म हो गए भाई, भूल जाओ अभी. It's about what you can do, what you can develop. The challenges are many, and there are enormous number of challenges in this country. But I always look at what I can deliver next. That's an opportunity for us, and it's really. I think you are right. I mean, I think there are these challenges, but I think अभी तो कुछ ऐसा नहीं है. See, government is so proactive right now. See, once the government is proactive, people will start falling into places. And there are mishaps going to happen, but that mishaps has no meaning in it life. Those are incidental events. That is a part of growing process. And this is what important. The maturity and our social infrastructure is still the main root cause of our scientific technological development. And that will completely change the ecosystem. We will make it much more robust. But don't worry about challenges, actually. We all know we can do better. Thank you very much.
Sir, one more question. My name is Shanki Chandra. I am the assistant professor and head of the Department of Chinese Studies. So I would like to share one case study, like Indian pharmaceuticals. In China, when I was there, so there is a medicine available called Gleftonet, and it is actually black marketed in China, and market में वैसे available नहीं थी वो. और मैंने देखा कि कजाकिस्तान अफ्रीकन कंट्रीज में इंडियन मेडिसिन की बहुत डिमांड है, पर मार्केट में वैसे अवेलेबल नहीं है लीगली, और उसको ब्लैक मार्केटेड किया जाता है, एंड देयर इज अ ह्यूज कॉस्ट डिफरेंस as well. So why we are not able to cater this particular market, even though we have a high demand in most of the countries, whether it is Kazakhstan, Vietnam, Cambodia, and African nation. So why is it so?
You know, supply chain problems are complex. Actually, they are not very simple. I mean, you've asked a very important question, why something cannot happen actually. Now, supply chains are also determined not by just Indian thinking and ecosystem. It's also determined by countries' need and requirement of the way policy structures have been set up. For example, if you, as you rightly said, you know, we are the chemist of the world actually, right? Now the challenge for me, to be very frank, the chemical industry chemist is not going to be the future pharmacy of the world. In fact, it will be cellular biology that will provide the solutions in future. So how do we engage that? And I don't know the answer for your Kazakhstan problem, because I think I may have to look at specific problem. But I think this is just the supply chain issues actually. There are all sorts of, you know, broken trails that have happened. Maybe some event have happened and they've said therefore the Indian markets should not be done. But that's not the case. India is now the accepted world leader in the country across systems in various places. So I think we can only be stronger. Believe me, we can't get weaker any longer actually. I don't think so.
Good afternoon, sir. Thanks for the great deliberation we had today with all of us. I'm a teacher and practitioner of supply chain management. And the question is more related to during the time of the pandemic that the world is struggling, and India has established a great example of very robust vaccine supply chain across India, and being a world leader in exporting, supply chain vaccines to the outward as well. Now, importantly, does the vaccine supply chain persist, and what is the sustainability within the vaccine supply chain developed in-house in India? As endemic it's an evergreen, the viruses keep on coming and going, and we have to be ready. As by 2030, we will be the largest, young economy in the world. So, what's your, take on this?
I mean, that's where you're absolutely right. I mean, I think this is where the real challenge is actually, is to understand how international waves will continue to change dimensionality of our vaccine manufacturing processes. For example, we are the biggest manufacturers of infectious disease vaccines right now, not the other vaccines which are of high-end vaccinations. What South Korea in last 3 years have done is in fact completely government, like the way it had Samsung and created LGs. They have a completely different model. They funded their vaccine industry inside out for 3 years. And they said, you go out, we will support you, we'll take everything. They have a different model. And then the country size is also small, the people are also small. So there are 80% of vaccines from South Korea is going to be now exported. So clearly there are challenges for our country to look at. But believe me, the scales that Indian manufacturer vaccines can do today is absolutely stupendous. I mean, one 4,000 liter disposable bag, if you can see how many countries have 4,000 liters disposable bag fermentation setup, you will not be able to find. But we have to continue to innovate, and that's where I'm saying, coming to that fact, is actually that the pipeline, as you rightly said, the supply chain has to continuously keep evolving, and the governments need to work, which is what I said, public-private partnership is a critical analysis of this. Even in Africa, for example, now you look at, every country thinks that we should set up a vaccination plant. Do you think it will be successful? It cannot, because it has no supply chain, it has no trained human resource, it has no capacity to do trials, there are no immunogenicity assays lab. So they're all thinking about it. But eventually, can India now capture that market, the next level of market? Of course it has to do it actually. But that's a more complex problems and that companies deal with. At the government level, we provide enabling environments and we provide them solutions, and then they have to do on their own actually.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hello, sir.
Thank you very much for all yeah, please.
Sir, I have one more question.
Yeah, sure.
So myself, Riya Chaudhary, from Department of Social Work. So as you have mentioned in your PPT that we have to connect science with society, and you have given example DNA in our hands. So, sir, society is dynamic and science as well. So can you please mention more ways to connect society with science? I'm really confused at how we can do that. Thank you so much, sir.
I mean, I think at the younger age, people are very open, and you know, there are different ways to do it. I mean, for me, it has to be in time with the world. I mean, Instagram videos will be the best way for these days for younger people to get motivated in science. You make small videos, put it on Instagram, they will look at it, they will get understanding of it, why we should do this, what is the reason for this, how this is going to look different actually. And I think in Twitter also you must have seen, if you look at, there are several people who keep posting videos. In fact, we should do as our nation together and younger set of teams of people. For example, you know, if you have a class of 50, even if 20 of them decide that we will start putting videos by collaborating with your fellow students from science department, I think you will make so much of difference to the lives of people actually. You can imagine, that's why I said, you know, the CT value word, believe me, nobody knew what CT values are till, you know, the COVID came and you start asking, acha, CT aapka low hai ya high hai? Now, you know, this is like kind of what tells you that how science can be imaginatively done. It's a very important thing they're talking about. I would very strongly urge students create enormous amount of capacity in this country actually, and they can create things that nobody else can do. So think of your own ways and mechanisms of creating value chain of your own, I think. Thank you. Thank you very much for your wonderful questions, and all of them were great, and you know, I have limited answers, but thank you again.
Thank you so much, Professor Gokhale. I would like to appreciate how you highlighted the importance of government being very proactive and taking steps if the research and development part of the entire situation is more robust. So, and also your conversion from Vidya to Kala was very insightful. So that was quite an engaging and insightful lecture. I would now extend my warm welcome to Professor Durgesh Pant, who is currently serving as the Director General UCOST Uttarakhand. Professor Pant is the coordinator and India participant in G20 summit in Ramnagar, Uttarakhand. Moreover, he was also the coordinator of Principal Scientific Advisory Committee of G20 countries. We are privileged to have you with us, sir, and I request you to take the stage to present your lecture.
Well, it's going to be good afternoon 1 minute from now. So it has been absolutely stimulating lecture, wasn't it, the discourse? Thank you, Professor Gokhale. It was magnificent, so round of applause. You, Professor. Amazing it has been in the sense that as a professor who has worked extensively in the domains of TB, tuberculosis, and he is the person, not only India's task force for tuberculosis, not only he worked, but found solution, and tuberculosis, as we know, and there were a few slides, and those slides showed that it is, there is this, with a vengeance it is coming back, but we want to have free India, you know, from tuberculosis, and he is heading that. Then the biotechnology. Biotechnology, we are living in a world. Biosciences, physical sciences, cyber sciences, all sciences are coming together, integrating. And this inevitability of integrating different disciplines, so he represents, Professor Gokhale represents that kind of, you know, this coalescing of disciplines, interconnecting of disciplines. So there he is. Thank you, Professor Gokhale, not only for giving us this insight, but taking the way forward, because we are lucky to have, Uttarakhand happens to have the rare privilege of, not only we have organized one G20 meet at Ramnagar, this is from 28th to 30th, we had one. Then 2 more are coming up, at Rishikesh and Narendra Nagar. So we are up and ready for it, we can assure you. And India's presidency, a huge moment for a country, and a country like India that is in its Amrit Kal. So under the able leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, the way India has progressed in leaps and bounds in all domains, all around, everywhere, there is optimism. And keeping in view the geopolitical situation, India has its leadership role now, and there we are. And as was the case, we used to say, because Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam happens to be the theme of this G20, so it goes by Rigved's Richa, this is, Ano Bhadra Krituvo Yantu Vishwataha. Let the noble thoughts come from all around everywhere. Let the knowledge come from all around everywhere, from all different dimensions. And India is a Vishwaguru, now establishing in 21st century, third decade of 21st century. This presidency of G20 is nothing but a hallmark of that leadership. Thank you, Professor Gokhale, for this talk. We have Secretary, Science and Technology of this state, Sri Shailesh Bagoli, and what a beautiful coincidence. Both Professor Gokhale and Shailesh Bagoli Sahab happens to be from a beautiful field, because when the universe was created with a big bang and it was energy, matter, and when we used to say this was all atoms coming together. So it was nothing but coalescing of, this energy and matter. It was chemistry. The study was chemistry. Both are students of chemistry. Professor Gokhale is from IIT Mumbai and Shailesh Bagoli is from IIT Kanpur. On both studying chemistry very, very interestingly. So both are there today. So. And we have Professor Surekha Dangwal, and she is from literature, and literature is nothing but again chemistry of art, chemistry of soul, chemistry of ideas. So there she is, so it is all chemistry all around. And so is the economics of chemistry, economics of biotechnology, economist of everything. That's very, very important. So there he is coordinating with everything. So now we will come to what Professor Gokhale spoke, because it was again with regard to this this ayam nijah karuveti ganana laghu chetasam udar charitanam vasudhaiva kutumbakam. So the message from India has been that, more than 200 countries, but the entire, this planet is one family, and if it is one family, so we got to have solutions. So at Ramnagar, we had very interesting topics. It was One Health, Professor Gokhale. It was One Health, PSA's office that organized this. One Health has been very, very important, as Professor Gokhale pointed out, and for all, for animals. And it is a, the kind of word which is stuff from all around everywhere. So One Health happens to be very, very important project for we all. So number one, it was there, and it was deliberated at a great length. Similarly, there were issues like the kind of research we are carrying out, be it with regard to, all different disciplines. So the scholarly contributions made by different universities, institutions, societies, how entire world could be benefited out of it. This was again G20 countries, which contribute to about 85% of the research of the world. So it was there, not only in terms of population, which is close to about 65%, and the kind of GDP, which is again close to 80-82%. But the amount of research these countries are doing, how the benefits, how the fruits of these research could reach out to every single individual living, on this planet, happens to be something big. Professor Gokhale talked about, the first slide was very interesting. He talked about kind of economy the world has. Very interesting data we have. Some 200 years back, British economist, medicine, he studied the whole thing, and India was contributing close to 20% of global trade. So that was enormous. But there was the, all these times, and we were reduced to time of independence, we were reduced to less than 1%. So now is the time after 75 years that again we can reshape, we can redraft, we can re-script the whole success story again with the kind of demographic dividend we have and with the most populous country and with the kind of research contributions we have. Only thing required, as Professor Gokhale pointed out, we need to have right kind of connect, we need to have right kind of mindset, positive mindset, that we can do all of that. Similarly, he talked about this technological empowered India. I remember when I joined, I was with NIC till 88, 89. While I was doing this technological thing, digital technological thing, came to Uttarakhand, 85, joined one university. People were greatly surprised as to what computer science IT would do. But after 34, 35 years, we know for certain what technology can do. Starting from very, very small things to everything, everywhere, technological interventions are there. Time is right, stage is set, the platform is there. Now, which way can we really make use of all these technologies and could really take the dividend out is the thing. And Secretary Science and Technology is here. So, the important part being right technology at right time, be it education, be it livelihood, be it healthcare, everywhere technology can do wonders. And in this age and time, very interesting thing, about a fortnight back, Government of India again came up with something very interesting, Task Force of Quantum Technologies. So again, this Task Force of Quantum Technology, it sets again the stage for new entrepreneurs and universities like ours to, to have the right kind of attitude and the way forward. We have AI, we have only yesterday, the chief architect of this Google, who was looking after AI, he resigned, as you all know. So now stage is set, which way we can have personalized healthcare system. Once AI is there, be it education, be it healthcare, be it any other thing, it is a double-edged. So the personalized systems will be taken care of by all these AI-based systems, so that is again for there. So global tech race he talked about, and biomanufacturing. Now here are the days when the brick and mortar kind of model, these are no longer going to exist. So time is there, be it agriculture, be it this construction, be it any other thing. So this entire edifice is going to be changed. He also talked about, so biotechnology is something very wonderful, because what you can do in a lab. And as you know, Mushroom Girl of Uttarakhand. Sir, we have Mushroom Girl of Uttarakhand. So what is there in a very, very small space, what she could do, the Mushroom Girl of Uttarakhand, not only in terms of generating revenue, but at the same time setting example for so many other, entrepreneurs. Uttarakhand again happens to be a hub of pharmaceuticals. Very, very interesting. More than 22% of pharmaceuticals, either they are manufactured in Uttarakhand. So this is something stupendous that is happening out here. But which way, not only from the Sitkul part of Haridwar, but it could spread all around in this Himalayan state, that got to be seen, and that is very, very important from Uttarakhand perspective, because if nutraceuticals are there, Ayurveda products, we cannot send them because of heavy metals, other things, but all these newer things are not only gaining ground but doing wonders. Similarly, he talked about, how one particular he gave this excellent thing, Bhains Ki Vyatha. Sir, it was stupendous, wonderful it was, because many a times we get intrigued by the whole thing, So that was something. And while at UCOST also, we are just trying to, not only trying to find out the talents, trying to mentor talents, trying to reach out to people, but at the same time through different schemes of DBT, we are trying to develop humanware, which is very, very important. So that is again something. Cyber system, physical biosystems he talked about. He also talked about the kind of, data supremacy. Data in this times, in this era, in this world, in this age, in this 21st century happens to be everything. So 21 GB per user, per month, and to startups, to growth engines, to FDI flow. By the way, we happen to be a country with almost, topmost remittance economy. All our people, everywhere they are also contributing. So every time around, we are competing with China in terms of remittance economy. So this is, and again, same thing goes for Uttarakhand too. People from Uttarakhand, wherever they are sending back money. So Uttarakhand, despite its very, very small population size, it is also contributing significantly. We are in the midst of this climate time in climate resilient, so we need to have climate resilient technologies. These things are there. But one thing we can assure you, Professor Gokhale, that Uttarakhand is more than willing to have and to embrace all those biotechnological interventions, science and technological interventions. University like Doon University, students, be it from Doon University, be it from other universities, we have a large pool of researchers, we have a large pool of technologists, large pool of teachers. So there we are, and we are more than eager to join this bandwagon of, this economic leap that India is looking up to. So India's story, for certain, this G20 has established that this G20 story, not only it is limited to 1 year. The girl from Bangladesh, she asked a question, and I'm very happy to share, because Bangladesh also happens to be, other than 19+1 EU, this European Union, there are certain countries that we have invited this time around, and India's friends, and Bangladesh happens to be one country. So Bangladesh representatives are also there. So this is policy of the country, not only in terms of reaching out to all those affluent countries, G20 countries, but also to its neighbor countries, which happens to be the policy of the country. Similarly, in these times of quantum era, bio-quantum, this biological quantum things, that is very important. He also referred to BIRAC. BIRAC happens to be something very important for the startups. And sir, we are having large number. This startup ecosystem is flourishing in Uttarakhand like anything. So Uttarakhand be a true testbed not only for implementing all our bioresources, these startups, but at the same time taking all these forwards. And government is pretty proactive. Our Honorable Chief Minister, Sri Pushkar Singh Dhami, he being not only in terms of, technology savvy person, Chief Minister, he likes to push all these ideas, as you have seen, because Niti Ayog's meeting that we conducted, you were there virtually, you joined us, again Akash meeting you have seen. So government is pretty proactive in terms of embracing technologies, but also taking all those technologies forward. All the councils, all our departments are very much keen in terms of leveraging technologies and giving a better life to the people and citizenry of the state. The last slide referred to a wonderful, this part that refers to why learning should be. So from my side, I always, I cherish referring to one beautiful learning pedagogy that UNESCO has proposed at the turning of this century, and it was Delos report. So this is like what Professor Gokhale referred to. It was learning to know. Why learning should be? It is learning to know. This is Gyan Yoga, and this is learning to work together. This is Sahyog. This is what we say. This is learning to do. This is Karma Yoga. And the most important, which really manifests India's ethos, that happens to be learning to live together. That is Atma Sakshatkar, we call it. Since we believe in Atma Sakshatkar, we believe in each and every Ano Bhadra Kratoho Yantu Sarvatah. Let everybody be happy in this planet, and let the noble ideas come from all around everywhere. Let the Presidency of India set new records, new hallmark, new standards for the whole world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for summarizing different aspects of this scientific evolution and contribution of Uttarakhand. And now we have this question and answer session. So I would request students to ask questions. No, in that case, one or two question maximum. Yes, please, ma'am.
जब इतना सब कुछ था तो फिर क्यों लाए बाहर की चीज़ें इंडिया में?
What?
अपना पर्यावरण बचाना था हमें, तो क्यों लाए हम लोग बाहर की चीज़ें? Please answer. I'm a student of this university.
देखिए, दो चीज बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है और इस समय उत्तराखंड क्या कर रहा है मैं उसके बारे में भी आपको जिक्र करूं। हमारे लिए जैसा सर ने बताया था, इकोनॉमी बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, क्योंकि इकोनॉमी है तभी ये हॉल है, तभी विश्वविद्यालय हैं, तभी सारी चीजें होंगी। लेकिन साथ में इकोलॉजी भी बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, ये भी बिल्कुल ठीक बात है। इकोलॉजी और इकोनॉमी का और उसके साथ टेक्नोलॉजी साथ में आ जाए, उससे सस्टेनेबिलिटी हो और लोगों की अकाउंटेबिलिटी हो, यही पूरा का पूरा मॉडल है। उत्तराखंड इसमें क्या कर रहा है, शायद आपको इसमें खुशी होगी, क्योंकि यहाँ हमारे सेक्रेटरी साहब बैठे हुए हैं, शैलेश बगोली जी। आज भी कैबिनेट की मीटिंग है। उत्तराखंड ही एक ऐसा राज्य है सर पूरा भारतवर्ष में और दुनिया में जिसने जीईपी अभी इंट्रोड्यूस किया है, ग्रॉस इन्वायरमेंट प्रोडक्ट, सकल पर्यावरणीय उत्पाद की आपकी जो भी आप चीजें कर रहे हैं जीडीपी के साथ में, उसमें किस तरह से आपकी मिट्टी, पानी, जंगल, हवा, इसका क्या वो बढ़ रहा है या घट रहा है, इसकी भी इसका अध्ययन हो पाएगा। किसी भी राज्य को बनने में, कोई चीज करने में समय लगता है, लेकिन इसका क्रेडिट दिया जाना चाहिए कि इन 23 years of its existence now it has come up to this concept of GEP. Doesn't it need a applaud कि हमने GEP राज्य में एक पूरा का पूरा प्रारंभ हो रहा है और शायद ये अपने आप में एक नई शुरुआत होगी, ये मैं कहना चाहता हूँ।
अगर इंस्टाग्राम बाकी चीज़ों से इतनी चीज़ें आप बोल रहे हो, वायरस वगैरह ये सब चीज़ें आ रही हैं, तो फिर क्यों लाया गया इंडिया में ये सब?
देखिए ये जो
क्यों नहीं टिके अपने उस पे?
आप बिल्कुल
हमारे पूर्वज जो चीज़ें करते थे, हमने वो चीज़ें फॉलो क्यों नहीं करी?
मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ। देखिए जो अभी हमने, ये आपके लिए इससे बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण है सर, अगर आप अनुमति दें मैं इसका जवाब दूं प्रोफेसर गोखले। अभी हमने G20 की जो मीट हुई बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है, उसमें एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण था, 4 चीजों पे मैं उस सेशन में था। वो था, एक डाइवर्सिटी थी, एक इंक्लूसिविटी थी, एक एक्सेसिबिलिटी थी, एक था और उसके
भाषा भी बाहर की बोल रहे हैं।
उसमें सुनिए, उसमें हमारा ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज सिस्टम। अब ये सवाल ये है कि देखिए पूरा का पूरा आप इससे कई चीजों के साथ में, हमने जो एनईपी में भी है उसमें हमने 3 भाषा की बात की है। हम दोनों चीजों को करेंगे जिसमें हम सहज रहें। तो हमने, ये बिल्कुल ठीक बात है कि हम हजारों वर्षों से हम रहे, हमने सरवाइव किया, सारी की सारी चीजें रही। उसको भी
कौन आता है सर?
हमने पूरी की पूरी मानव जाति है, पूरी मानव जाति उसमें है। इसीलिए मैंने, अगर आपने ध्यान दिया हो, ये कहा था सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया। ये सबके कल्याण की भावना थी जो हमने रही है। लेकिन उसके साथ साथ में दुनिया में जहां पर भी जो चीज है, अगर आपके हाथ में माइक है, ये भी टेक्नोलॉजी है। जो हम लोगों में पूरा जो सिस्टम है, इसमें भी टेक्नोलॉजी है, उसको भी लेना होगा और जो हमारी बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस हैं उसको भी हमको अंगीकार करना होगा। ये बात कहना चाहते हैं।
किस को माइक चाहिए? प्लीज हाथ खड़ा करो, मैं पास करती हूँ।
I think for a constructive discussion, it's better to maintain discipline instead of having this speculations or emotive behavior. I mean, it's better we ask some
कोई बात नहीं,
rational question.
Hello sir, this is Rapti Saha from Biological Sciences again. Sir, in your lecture you told us about that how UCOST and other institutions and organizations of science and technology in India are trying to train young minds to develop their skills and mindsets so that we can integrate innovation with economy and develop a better job opportunity or entrepreneurship mentality within us. Sir, I'd like to ask you, what would be your suggestion to us? I am an undergraduate student. I'm like a very fresh student. I have lots of educational milestones to cross. What will be your suggestion to me and students like me of this university so that we can develop our skills and entrepreneurship mentality, as a result of which within a span of 5 to 10 years we will not come to that point of life where we are PhD graduates, like Dr. Gokhale said, we have PhD training but we do not have employable skills. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for this very, good question, and a question that not only raises hope, but at the same time aspiration of the learning student community. Shailesh Bagoli ji is here. Very recently, Government of Uttarakhand, it has constituted a forum, a platform, that invites proposals from the students, especially research-based proposals. Those research-based, be it, from social science sector, from technologies, from basic science, and oriented towards state-centric application, state-centric issues. So they can submit ideas. This is number one. Number two is any idea you have, anything flowing in your veins, you feel those are innovative ideas, you can come up with something, we can develop. He was talking about those startups. You can write to us, you can mail us, you can inform us about those ideas. It should be a collaborative one with the help of your respective school and department. It is also available on the site. So we invite those proposals. Not only there is one, there are several departments, but please try to find out, maybe your university, it has again that kind of incubation, again that innovation center, but through that one you can send us ideas. If it is actionable, workable, or something can be tweaked, with some kind of modification, improvisation, if it can become something fantastic, for sure, the government is there, departments are there to work on those ideas. It is indeed possible, and go ahead with this. From my side, I just want to mention the whole thing out here, that this ecosystem is there in this state. Again, from the point of view of technological interventions, and again from the point of view of mentoring. So it is indeed there.
Thank you, sir. We shall now conclude the question and answer round. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we proceed towards the end of the program, I would now request our Honorable Vice Chancellor Ma'am, Professor Surekha Dangwal, to honor our dignitaries. Mr. Bagoli, sir. With the memento and the shawl. I would now request our Vice Chancellor Ma'am to honor our dignitaries with the memento and the shawl, please. Now honoring Mr. Bagoli, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Could we have a huge round of applause for our esteemed guests, please? Honoring Professor Durgesh Pant, sir. Thank you, sir.
May I now please invite Professor Chetna Pokhriyal, Dean, School of Languages, to facilitate the winners of bilingual debate competition. The first prize goes to Avantika Rawat. Please come on stage. The second prize is awarded to Jaya Sharma, and the third prize winner is Prakhar Semwal. Could we have the winners on the stage, please? Avantika Rawat, Jaya Sharma, and Prakhar Semwal. Please approach the stage.
If any of the winners are not present, I mean the friend or someone else can receive on their behalf, but please come quickly. And I humbly request Professor Chetna Pakhriyar ma'am to give these awards to these winners. Please. Avantika Rawat. Okay. A correction. I request Professor Mungai sir to kindly provide these awards to students. First of all, Avantika Rawat, and then Jaya Sharma and Prakhar Semwal. Okay, Prakhar is not here, so any friend of Prakhar Semwal? Prakhar Semwal or any of his friends? At least clap for your friends, students. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am.
No, I think, let's have a big applause for all the speakers, and particularly for our distinguished scientist and our guest of honor today, to Dr. Rajesh Gokhale sir, who has been at the helm of scientific development in the country. And it is a great opportunity that, in G20 University Connect program, he has readily accepted our invitation to be the chief guest here. We are grateful to you, sir, for being here. And despite his busy schedule, he has made it to be here today morning. And sir has rightly said that, because as India is at the cusp of change, and we are leading the G20 presidency, and I think you have given a very bright and very innovative way of identifying your national priorities, sir. Priorities may be that agriculture, in agri-foods, in energy development, in healthcare, which is a huge challenge, where inequities are there, and climate change. And for all these, what he has outlined that data and digital world is going to be the reality, and where artificial engineering and the future of technology is going to be very, very important arena, which will be disruptive, but at the same time in a very the creative technologies which are going to come up. And in that lineage, I think he has tried that how the biomanufacturing has the potential. In the morning we were discussing with sir that how the manufacturing is a job generator, and it has a much higher multiplier impact on creating the jobs. And that way, what he outlined rightly that that we should have a kind of required innovation and technology in atmosphere. For that, we need innovative institutions, and these institutions, what he underlined that these should be cross-discipline based on the cross-disciplinarity, and for that if these institutions are there, we will be able to connect science to the society, and that is I think one of the important message which is from this August gathering or August hall he has delivered, and we are really grateful to you, sir, for spending the time. We are also having two distinguished speakers, those who are, one is administrator, and he is Dr. Bagoli sir. He is Secretary Science and Technology and also Secretary Higher Education He is a very bright, dynamic officer who is committed to, I think, development of science and technology and higher education in state of Uttarakhand. And I am sure that under his able guidance and his able guidance, Uttarakhand will be able to achieve its niche in developing different institutions of scientific temperament, and they will be very, very useful for our students, for our teachers, for taking up the research into new domains. And we are having another important person, Dr. Durgesh Panji. I am grateful to him also. He is the person who is connecting science to the society. And I think this is a great opportunity that we are having the person who is a very scientist and administrator, then another person who is administrator, another person who is taking science to the society. We are indeed grateful to all of you, sir, to be here with us and to motivating all of us in the in Doon University. We are grateful to our Vice Chancellor, ma'am, Professor Surekha Dangwal, who is leading this G20 Connect program under the G20 University Connect program of the country. And we are also thankful to our Registrar, Dr. Mandrawal, Deputy Registrar, Mr. Narendra Lalji, for giving their valuable support in making this event very, very successful. I'll say that tomorrow also there is another event in that sequence, and that will be again, will be attended by many of the most of our students and teachers and faculty. We have a media team here which consists of Dr. Nitin Kumar, Rajesh Kumar, Dr. Rajesh Kumar, Sachin and his team for beautifully covering and YouTube mainstreaming this whole event. So the whole event is now, it is in YouTube. It has been watched by other people also. We sent the link to them. We have with us in the hall management, Dr. Bipin Kumar, Dr. Madhu Bist, our young students, Yukta, Anayita, Aditya, Piyush, Nitya, Sanskriti, Aman, and all other students. I am really thankful to you that you have been here and you have been supporting to all of us in making this event a successful event. Last but not least, I am very grateful to my faculty, those who have been here and providing me very their useful cooperation in taking this event to this logical end. Thank you very much. And now, tomorrow, I think tomorrow we are having another event under the G20 program, and that will be starting at 11 o'clock, and you will be getting another request from all of us to be here, like today you have been there. And tomorrow, another important person who will be lead speaker, she is Ambassador Mrs. Preeti Sharan. She will be coming here. And another two eminent speakers will be with us. One is Dr. Mohit Gupta, one of the leading cardiologists, and what I call the kind of very good motivating person. He will be with us. Another leading person who is working on the issues of women empowerment, Dr. Alka Mittal. She was a former CMD of ONGC. She will be here. So I think as a sequence, you will be getting another very good feed tomorrow, academic feed through these three lectures. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. Thank you very much.